Hey everybody, this is Perch. There's been another little extended behind the scenes break on this channel. I was selected for jury duty and pulled a murder CP case. Um, wasn't a good time. It definitely puts a lot of things into perspective. And yeah, and no, it we fight about a lot of things, and there's a lot of arguments, and there's a lot of bluster. I guess that's the biggest part. There's a lot of people putting on kind of fake personas in order to either look tough or act tough or be seen a certain way or whatever. And comics is filled with that for a very kind of introvert, industry for creators, artists, and writers. It's amazing how many of these artists and writers put on these personas. I assume gleaned from Netflix shows they watch or whatever else, and it's just this tidal wave of fakery in so many people, and it makes you wonder. It just makes you wonder. Anyway, I'm back and putting some stuff in, and one of the videos that I put up was this Team Blood Force creator who wrote in talking about how he kind of broke through and started just making comics and doing his thing. And I think that video is out now. It was somewhere in the pile. I moved it forward in the stack. I had recorded it and then I tried to move it forward about a month so it would play sooner. But I was thinking about that guy a lot during the trial, just from the sense of, just getting out and doing something, kind of putting away the personas, putting away the bluster, putting away the act, and just getting to business. And it was it was nice to think about people who are just not ignoring the act. And by the way, I'm saying this, I intend to go over and listen to that guy's channel. I recommended it, I subscribed to it, so I can later. I have no idea, I have, it's been true in the past that I've recommended things that I kind of get around, finally go listen to it. And, the person turns out to be a complete and absolute lunatic, but I don't think that's the case here. But anyway, it was just, just get things done. So I'm back to mail. So I'm going to read this mail to you, which is kind of in that same vein of starting comics. I've gotten a lot of mail lately of people who are just wanting to start comics, creators who want to do things. And that's also nice to see. So anyway, sorry for that fairly odd preamble. Hi, Perch. Sorry to bother, but man, nobody else is responding back to me. So you picked me, the guy who who can't manage his own mailbox. Okay. So he says, so I have a comic. It's mostly a couple of pictures with text filling in the gaps, hence the quotations around the word comic. I was inspired by Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein. That's good inspiration, by the way. Although this is going to be manga-sized and have some pics on each page. So what I'm wondering about is how I get this out there. I'm a first-timer. No name recognition. I want to self-publish. Do you have any suggestions? Do you have an agent in mind? Do you publish? Anything to point me in the right direction would be helpful. By the by, I thought of emailing you after watching the Team Blood Force a bit. Hey, Ray Perch, I do thank you for the time. Hope this finds you well. It also means anything to you. My brother watches you, and that's how I found your vids. But thank you again. Cool. Well, hello. Thank you to you, and thank you to the brother. So how do you get this out there? The first thing you need to do is, I mean, everybody's a little different, but this would be my suggestion. First, you need to let go of the idea that you're going to be some kind of mega star success in a year. You need to let go of that because it will wind up getting in your way. It's not aim low. That's not my advice. You should actually aim high. But what you got to do is understand that there's a lot of kind of pieces that nobody will really see and recognize, that if you execute on those, if you put those pieces down, it will start to climb, and you will ultimately get the success you want. What is if you've read books or watch movies and you kind of see the hero's journey, or the aspiring young fashion designer who's going to work their way up and rule the industry, you're seeing all these steps, you're seeing all these trials and tribulations, you're seeing all these individual moments of the person nose to the grindstone working hard. In real life, of course, you don't see any of those things with anyone's success story unless it's yours. And as a result, people often feel like they're not moving forward when they're not getting, when they're not in the spotlight, when people aren't staring and looking at what they're doing, when they're not putting something out that they're, that nothing is happening. But in reality, you have to have those moments in order for things to happen. So to be more specific with it, okay, so you have a comic. Maybe you want to put some more work toward it. Maybe it's where you like it. If you go out and you crowdfund it today, then what's going to quickly happen is you're going to need to spend, months, especially if you're unknown, getting someone's attention. You might be able to shortcut that line if you, go on one of the popular YouTube channels and you basically say, introduce yourself to their audience. But a lot of those channels are not going to do that, for you for nothing. They also have an audience to grab. So they're going to want to use you to further whatever their agenda is. And as a result, you could quickly find that your comic, the thing that, you're doing this for in the first place, gets lost in that shuffle. And before you know it, you're commenting on, does Snow White have a hairy back as opposed to your comic? And that is at least my observation is that's a bit of a trap to nowhere. You're either, at some point, you're either going to embrace the product that you're now putting out, which is culture war commentary, or you're just not going to make much success with your comic. So there's got to be a better way. And I think there is a better way. And it's kind of, in my mind, one of the things that was successful in comics is it was growing, and you saw a lot of this in the 70s and 80s, and you see people today, I keep going back to it. It's another little comment that kind of is stuck in my head. Scott Snyder in a teaching class, tutorial, blog, Substack thing, whatever, somewhere in there, has been recommending the idea of always have cliffhangers, always, and I'm, by the way, I'm severely paraphrasing what he said, and I'm slimming it down. But basically the idea is always, there's got to be a hook. There's got to be a cliffhanger. There's got to be a leave them wanting more kind of moment. Okay, so how can you utilize that to gain attention for you and ultimately your comic? This is where I think creators and some of the people who have leveraged webtoons and webcomics have been very successful, is they release tiny bits of their comic at a time, and they just have a lot of cliffhangers. They generate interest. They put the characters or whoever else in a situation where after 2 pages you're wondering what the third page is going to be. And it's not like, when I say cliffhanger, it's not like at the end of 2 pages there's a gun. It's like, oh my God, somebody's dead. And then like, tune in next time. It could be as simple as the character is kind of investigating a room and opens a door, and there's a shocked expression on their face, and you'll find out what that means next time. A lot of people point to manga and they miss the fact that manga, specifically through Shonen Jump and a lot of designs, they captured this. You had little 8-page stories. And you'll notice if you read, and if you go back and you read to some extent One Piece, but a lot more Naruto, My Hero Academia, Jujutsu Kaisen, if you look at some of those stories, what you will notice is that about every 2 to 3 pages, there is some kind of dramatic element or something that's pushing the story forward, that's making you want to turn the next page. Sometimes it's a small thing, sometimes it's a large thing. But after 8 pages or so, you will notice there's a bigger thing. About every 8 pages, there's a bigger cliffhanger. So think about your work. You have your complete comic, and in your mind, you want to sell one complete comic, and that makes sense. But if people don't know who you are and you haven't generated a little bit of attention and buzz for yourself, how are they going to find you? How are they going to ever read that comic? So you need to start teasing it out. You need to start teasing that you're bringing something. And I think the best way to do that is, leverage social media. So, I think organization helps a lot. On a piece of paper, draw out for yourself, what are all the tools that are at your disposal? You have platforms like Webtoons. You have Instagram. You have Facebook and Twitter and Blue Sky. You have, there's a ton of art communities. You have DeviantArt. You have all these different sources where you can post stuff. Okay, So get those all on a paper. Now you see here are all, for you're starting at the beginning. So these in effect are your distribution channel. Your distribution are these areas. Okay. Now, next to that, get a calendar, literally a calendar. You could download it from, or just, if you want to just stay completely electronic, you just get a calendar, all the days. And you basically want to say, all right, I'm going to do a 3-month campaign. I recommend doing it in 90 days. So 3 months. And over those 3 months, I am building to attention of my project being my comic. I want to get my comic out there. There's a big piece coming up in a minute of like, what do you intend to do to sell your comic, or how much are you trying to make from it? Or, what's your plan in terms of printing? But for the moment, okay, 3 months, 90 days. And then just, mark in the days. On Monday, I'm going to release a character sketch. I'm going to release something that didn't get printed into the comic, but it showcases kind of the character and kind of the direction it's going. And on day 2, I'm going to put a little snippet from my script, just some little kind of plot dialogue. And day 3, I'm going to post 1 panel, and then build up to something like on Friday, on day 5, I'm going to post a page. Now you're saying at this point, like, whoa, you're asking me to give everything away for free. Yeah, not everything, but some things. Yes, I'm saying, basically you want to kind of get yourself in the discipline of releasing a little teaser, a little cliffhanger, a little something that's going to generate your project. This does a few things. 1, you build momentum, you build excitement for your work. 2, you're going to build an audience because you're feeding content. The internet's filled with people who are at this point just commenting on, as I said, Snow White's back hair. But there's very few people who are putting out like, here's some material, here's some content, and just building it that way. And, if you've so inclined, you can always go on YouTube and you could do a stream and you can just say, hey, I'm going to just sketch and doodle here and talk comics or whatever, like the Team Blood Force guy does. That's smart too. But basically, your goal over 90 days is to gain your audience. And when you gain your audience, now you've got the critical mass of people who support you, will buy your book, like what you've done, and will generate money, which means you're going to have to start thinking about printing or releasing digital. If you're releasing digital, there's a ton of platforms. Once again, you can leverage Webtoons, but you can also put it out in other places. If you want to print and self-publish, as you mentioned, then ultimately you're going to have to find a printer. There's a few out there that are, decent printers that can help you out. So, you can get that book out. Or you want to start talking to publishers. That's the worst possible route because that's the one that's the slowest, most outside of your control, and one that will often feel like you're moving backwards when you're not moving at all. But that's kind of where you want to aim. Get that momentum for yourself. Leverage the fact that you are going to now, start putting material out, and take it from there. There's kind of sub strategies to everything I just said, where, if you said Bernie Wrightson's Frankenstein, if you got kind of a horror thing, then okay, there's things outside of traditional comics. There's, horror magazines. There's, was it Fangora? This is a while back. I don't even know if they still publish, but a friend of mine got a job, or rather had made a comic, was trying to figure out where to sell it, and then discovered that Fangora was doing kind of what manga did. They wanted, for I think 8 issues or something, they wanted to publish a comic. So they took a comic and kind of divided up into 8 issues, and then 8 of their issues, and then just published a little bit at a time and toward the back. And it was a great publishing experience. The guy got a little bit of money for it, but more than that, it was awesome experience. So anyway, stuff like that you could explore. I wish you luck. Hey, if you have the drive to make it, that's 95% of the battle. So stick with it, and I know you'll be successful. It's good to talk to everybody again, and thanks for listening.